One of the biggest challenges for President-elect Biden will be turning around the US economy that's been ravaged by the coronavirus pandemic. Economists are pleading with Washington to get behind a new relief package, but the talks have stalled. Republicans think Democrats are asking for too much.
But who knows where the economy will be come January the 20th. The recovery is stalling. There are new COVID restrictions coming in across the United States, and people are feeling it. These are pictures from Texas this weekend. 25,000 people queuing in their cars for handouts at a Dallas food bank. The sobering reality of the COVID pandemic. Today, after being briefed on the state of the economy by some of the biggest CEOs in America, Mr. Biden stressed that the politicians need to help everyone hit by the virus.
Right now, Congress should come together and pass a COVID relief package like the HEROES Act that the House passed 6 months ago. Once we shut down the virus and deliver economic relief to workers and businesses, then we can start to build back better than before. We talked about how we have an opportunity to come out of this stronger, more resilient than we were when we went in.
Well, let's speak to Larry Summers, who was Secretary of the Treasury under President Clinton and Director of the National Economic Council under President Obama. Thank you so much for joining us. So Joe Biden is calling on Congress to act now and pass another stimulus relief package, not to wait until he's president on January the 20th. But do you really see Congress moving fast enough?
I think there's much more risk that they'll move too slowly and too insufficiently than there is that they'll move too quickly or move too boldly. I don't think there's any question that the economy needs a major infusion of resources into testing, into contact tracing, into masking, into making sure we're ready when the vaccine comes to distribute it as effectively as possible, even if that involves a lot of expensive refrigeration. I don't think there's any question that the million workers who've been laid off from state and local government need to be brought back so they can provide important services like educating our kids. I don't think there's any question that the people who've been unemployed should be getting some assistance to tide them through, if only so that those who are afflicted make sure that they're able to stay home and still support their families. So I think the case for stimulus now is as overwhelming as any economic policy case that I can remember. And I think Congress should put aside the differences about just how much unemployment insurance should be and the like, and move forward tomorrow to pass this that is hugely important for our economy.
Joe Biden said today that people are teetering on the edge, that they can't afford to pay their rent, they could be out on the street. But the fact is that as president, he probably won't control the Senate. How can he get things like the $15 an hour minimum wage for all Americans? How can Joe Biden get that through?
We'll see what happens in the Senate election, and then we'll see what kind of agreements people are able to reach. Clearly, some spirit of compromise is going to be necessary if progress is going to be made. I can't imagine that if the Republicans are as intransigent as many seem to be predicting that they will be, that they won't pay a political price for that intransigence. I think it's going to be pretty hard to portray Joe Biden, given the life experience that he has had, his 36 years in the Senate, as someone who's unwilling to compromise or someone who's in the thrall of some kind of radical agenda. I think that people who don't let him do the things that are necessary to keep us healthy and to keep families able to feed their kids, I think people who make that impossible are going to look pretty intransigent, and I don't think that's the way politicians facing an electorate are going to want to look. So I understand all the reasons for concern, but I think this may work out a little better than many people suppose.
Larry, we're talking about compromise between left and right, but I know some time back you were touted as a potential economic advisor to Joe Biden, and there was a bit of uproar on the left of the Democratic Party. With that in mind, I know that you had to pull back. Do you think it is possible, actually, to find compromise within the Democratic Party itself between the progressive left and the more centrist President Joe Biden?
I think if anybody can do that, it is Joe Biden. And I think the kinds of agreements that can be reached within the Democratic Party depend upon the broad political context. And there are plenty of Democrats I know who have very strongly different views than mine on many questions. But I don't think there's any division of opinion on the question of whether kids should be fed. I don't think there's any division of opinion on the question of whether state and local governments need money. I don't think there's any division of opinion on whether we need to do more to provide masks, to provide tests for COVID. There may be disagreements about just how ambitious the agenda should be, but a core agenda that would make things much better than they are right now, I think that commands widespread consensus.
Larry Summers, good to get your thoughts today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.